So this is a Bitcoin chart. We've been looking at this a lot, but this is a chart with no fancy indicators, no fancy tools. It's just a candlestick chart, and what we're going to do is we're going to draw support and resistance on this chart, let you guys see how that looks. So I did draw this out, it's just going to show you it, but then I ended up having some issues. The computer crashed. Long story short, I lost it. Now, instead of drawing that back out and then just showing it to you, what I'm going to do is actually draw it out here live and let you see how it actually looks, how it actually draw it out. So first thing I want to do is establish resistance for this channel, and that is simply a resistance line like this. There we go. That's our resistance line for this channel. Now we need a support line, which would be back in here. There we go. Support and resistance. Now, I want you to look at this chart, and I want you to tell me what the overall trend of the market is. Pretty simple, right? It's not rocket science. This is really simple stuff. So what I'm going to do here is identify support on the chart. So this would be support. This would be support. And obviously this here was a pretty major level of support. We bounced really heavily off of that. So on this support trend line, we have 1, 2, 3 points of confirmation. 3 points of confirmation makes it a really strong trend. For resistance, we have the same amount. So we have 1 point of confirmation there for this trend. It got confirmed here. Make that a little better. A little bit of a perfectionist here. So it got confirmed there, and then here. So we have 3 points for support and 3 points for resistance. This is a confirmed trend. So this is a confirmed correction channel. What that means is the market is in a downtrend. And a lot of people have an issue with that, have an issue accepting that. Now, in order to break out of this downtrend, we would have to break out of what is called a reversal zone. A reversal zone would be in here. So let me just draw that out for you. There is our reversal zone. So we'd have to break out above this. And one thing I wanted to mention here is there is such a thing as reintegration into a channel. And what I mean by that is we could break above this channel briefly, come back through, reintegrate into the channel, and continue the trend. To really break out above this channel, what we want to see is the daily close above the channel. And ideally, we want to see a couple days where it closes above the channel. So a couple daily closes above the channel would give you a very strong confirmation of a reversal. So that's our reversal zone, and it's in here. It depends on when we get to this zone, but it could be 10,800, and as we fall off, obviously the price goes down. The reversal zone price kind of drops off a little bit. So down in here, we could be looking at 9,000 down here, or we could be looking at 79, 8,000. It all depends on what happens in the next few weeks, the next month or so, even beyond that. So that's our reversal zone. That's the zone where we need to break out of, or we're going to bounce off of, right? So now a lot of people were asking, well, where is it going to be in here should we fall off? And should we come back to here? Where would we go to? And we've mentioned a level around 6,000, and that is still accurate, but I want to show you exactly where you get that from in the chart. So what you do is you would zoom out and you take a trend line and you'd go back in the chart. You go back in the chart and you'd find 2 points of confirmation here, which would be this point here and this point here. And then obviously this point would be your third point of confirmation. And what we would do is then use that as a basis for what we would bounce off of. So in here is going to be our reversal zone. We'll draw that in green, so that would be support. And it depends on when we get to this point. We'll just draw it out. We'll draw it out quite large. There we go. So that is our reversal zone. This is the point where we're either going to bounce off or break through. Now this is serious support, so I don't anticipate us breaking through, but I'll show you what would happen if we do. So in here, we're still looking at 6,000. We're looking at between about 6,500. It depends on when we get down to this point and what happens once we get there. And a lot of people think that technical analysis is like reading tea leaves and it doesn't actually work. And I want to show you why it actually works and show you that back here in the chart. So you can really see that this does work. Let's draw out another trend line here. We're going to use the past to give you guys an idea of how well this does work. All right, so this is our trend line for the past here. So we have 1 point of confirmation here. Let me move that up. So we have 1 point of confirmation here, 2 points of confirmation here, and this would be our 3rd point of confirmation. And then when we broke through here, it invalidated it. So let's zoom in here and I'll show you just how much indecision we had at this level. So look at this. This is all indecision because of this trend. Because of this support line, all of this indecision. Now when we broke through it, it invalidated that as support. So now that's resistance. So it invalidated it, but just look how well it did work. So we had 2 points of confirmation in the past, and we could say that if we were up here, we could say that that would hold, and it actually did. And why I show you that is I want to show you just how well trend lines actually work. So what would happen if we were to break through this zone here? And I don't anticipate that happening. If that would happen, we would have to see news such as Tether blowing up or just some really negative news to get through that level. At this point, I think that would be the case. But let's show you what would happen. So again, I would go back in the chart and I'd find a point back in the chart to base a long-term trend on. Yeah, so that looks pretty good, right? Again, we go back into here. We have 1 point of confirmation way back here. It's kind of hard to see. All right, so we have 1 point of confirmation way back here in March of last year. So let's just draw that out here. That's support. So that's 1 point of confirmation. We have this point of confirmation here, which we use for the other trend, which held. So that's 2 points of confirmation for this trend. And obviously the 3rd point would be, should we break this to come down to here, that would make our 3rd point of confirmation. And we're looking at a reversal zone like this. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at 3,800 to 4,000 as a reversal zone should we break through this here. Now again, I don't anticipate that happening. I think we would have to get a lot of negative news in order to make that happen, and I just don't see that happening at this point. So that's support, resistance, no fancy indicators, no fancy tools, just what you see on the chart. Now, a lot of people were saying, well, we picked up volume here, and we did. We picked up quite a bit of volume here in the last couple hours, and the price has shot up quite a bit. We were seeing buy orders about 150 Bitcoin, 200 Bitcoin, which from current volume levels, that's pretty decent. So volume did drop out by a ton here in the last day or so. So we went down by about 50% on Bitphoenix. We went down from 60,000 down to 30,000 on GDAX. We went down from 20,000 or just below 20,000 to about 11,000. We dropped by quite a bit, and that was just indecision at this point in the market. Just nobody wanted to buy. Hardly anybody wanted to buy, and hardly anybody wanted to sell because nobody understood what was going on in the market. And then we've seen this pump up, which propelled more people to get on the bandwagon. They felt like they were missing out, and we see a pretty decent run going here. Now again, we're still in this channel. So this would be our resistance line. And at this point, we're really looking at something over in here, but let's just say for the sake of this, we're looking at about 11,000. And obviously we know from 11,000 to 12,000, we have serious resistance in the chart. But the point I really wanted to make here with this video is that just because the price is going up does not mean that we're seeing a bullish trend. And we've said this over and over and over again. You have to separate your emotions from the market and react to the market accordingly. So a lot of people are trying to push head and shoulders all over this chart. And we've seen head and shoulders here and here and here. And they're like forming everywhere and they're on top of each other. And there's head and shoulders and there's cup and handle. And there's so many chart patterns that are trying to be forced on this chart. The important thing to realize is that chart patterns are good and they can be strong confirmation tools. But if we're in a channel and we see resistance and we see support, resistance and support is what you want to watch. If those chart patterns get validated by a breakout or a breakthrough, then yeah, those are great to use as confirmation tools. But if they don't, you're basically just trying to force a pattern on a chart that isn't there. Now, we did mention that some people were saying that we were looking at maybe a bearish flag here. This would be the flag pull. This would be the flag itself. Could that be the case? Yeah, it could be the case. We have to understand about those chart patterns and about flags, and especially that big of a time period where you're trying to draw a flag. It could be the case, but you have to validate that by what you see next on the chart. And then there were people saying, well, this is a bullish flag, right? So we have a bearish flag and a bullish flag, and it has to be validated, and we have to see a breakout above resistance. And that's what so many people miss. You can't just see a run like this and say, oh, the train's running off without me, I have to get on. Actually look at resistance in the chart. Actually look at support. Make your decisions and your trades accordingly. It just makes sense. So those are my ideas. Now, an update for today, I would say we are making a run at this point. But again, we're looking at this resistance here, this reversal zone here, to actually make or break this run. So the run itself doesn't really make much of a difference in the big picture. If we don't break out of this reversal zone, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. So again, if you're looking at this and you're trying to make a decision, I would say look at resistance, look at support, and then make your decisions accordingly. Here's what we see on the chart. Based on established trend lines, based on support levels back here, obviously we have support here. Based on all of this, we're looking to see a level in here. That is if we don't break out of this reversal zone, which at this point the market is still pretty weak. There's not a whole lot of buyer sentiment. We did make a run here and quite a few people bought in simply because they see the price going up, and whenever the price goes up, dumb money buys in. But unless we validate this scenario by breaking out above this reversal zone, this run doesn't mean a whole lot. So we very well could see a scenario like this, followed by a run like this. We'll make that dotted. But we very well could see a run like this. Down in here, again, I don't anticipate this happening. And I don't anticipate it happening simply because to break a level of support this massive, you'd have to have a lot of negative news. And like I said, Tether or something like that would have to blow up for this to actually break it at this point. We'll see how it goes. This is kind of how I anticipate it happening, how I see it happening. We very well could come back up into 10,000, 10,400. We're on the 10,000 level right now. We could come back to 10,500, 10,400. That area there, bounce back off, run all the way down to here, bounce off this support, and then go up and actually break through this. And what you have to understand about a run like this is volume came in quite a bit. Now, what could happen, what could very well happen, is when volume comes in like that, you could very well see a run up that is pretty strong, followed by a drop in price, which turns everybody to panic. And when all those people that bought in here turn to panic, they sell out. And they sell out quick, leaving the market in panic. And that's really what we're looking at here. We have so many emotional traders in Bitcoin that if this falls off again and we come up test this, fall back off from this reversal zone, you're going to see quite a bit of panic, I do believe. And especially if we keep going down, we're going to see quite a bit of panic. We'll have to see what happens as we go down, but I think we're very likely to see there's a high probability that we're going to see a level down in here, 6,500, right around in here. We're going to see a level here. This is our reversal zone, and we're either going to see it bounce off or break through. I would say there's a high chance and a high probability that it's going to bounce off this reversal zone, gain momentum, build buyer sentiment. Buyers are going to come in, push the price through this trend line, and we're going to see it break. Now, in the past, it has taken Bitcoin months to come out of a correction. It has taken months to come out of a downtrend. That could happen. I don't see that happening just because there's so much exposure on Bitcoin at this point that there wasn't before. And so there are a lot more people interested in it and a lot more people buying than there were before. But again, that is a possibility. We've already seen this play out for a little over 3 months. This has been playing out, and we're yet to break out of this correction. So that's where we stand. That's what I see, and it's pretty simple. Just support and resistance, reversal zones, pretty simple stuff. It's not rocket science, but it is very powerful, and it's powerful because you see resistance hold here and resistance hold here and resistance hold here. Support held 3 times, resistance held 3 times. This is a serious trend, and if we hold resistance here again, the chances of us bouncing back to here are astronomical. It's going to happen. So that's what we're looking at. It's possible that we could come up and break through this and close. Like, we would have to close on the daily. We'd have to see a daily close above this correction channel. That is what we'd have to see. At this juncture, I don't see that happening just because we don't have a lot of buyer support. Even though we did see a big run here, volume is still down quite a bit. So we'd have to build momentum pretty quickly. But that's what we're looking at. We're looking at this as a reversal zone. This is a reversal zone. And that's where we're looking to either make or break this run and bounce off of to actually gain momentum, build the momentum, build the buyer sentiment that needs to happen in order to have a run to push through this, actually get out of this correction. So I hope this gives you some ideas, and maybe you can do your own analysis. You can draw these out on your chart. You can draw trend lines just based on support and resistance. You can draw out these long-term trend lines just based on support, again, and you can do this yourself and make your own decisions. We're just trying to give you guys the tools to be able to do this yourself, to identify support and resistance on a chart. And honestly, indicators are good. Moving averages are great. These tools are great. Fibonacci retracements, they're stuff we use every day. But when you boil it down to the core basics, when you simplify it, support and resistance is all you need to be a successful trader. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Just want to give you an update, give you a simplified version of the chart, show you just support and resistance, and then you can make a decision based on that. You can decide where you want to go with it. If you have a comment, you have a question, leave that in the comments below. We enjoy reading your comments, and we try to get to as many as we can. If you're not subscribed already, we definitely would appreciate you subscribing. We've got a lot of videos planned. We've got a lot of analysis videos planned. We've got some live trading videos planned in the near future. So stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss that. But again, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.